If you've been laid off or you left your company, before you do anything with your 401k, find out all the ins and outs. Call Phillis today, 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496.
The pandemic has drastically changed Americans' priorities and how they view wealth. But even if your definition of wealthy has changed in the past year, or if you've had a change of heart about what you want your retirement to look like, it's still important that you have a plan to help you accomplish your goals. And that is what we'll talk about here today on Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. Thanks so much for joining us today. Jen Rezac here alongside Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. And Phillis, some really interesting numbers here. The latest Modern Wealth survey that Charles Schwab does has some changes in how people prioritize their finances and how they view wealth. And I just wanted to get your take on this because people are saying now we need less than we thought we did to be wealthy, to have financial happiness. One of the numbers to be financially comfortable, they had said before that you needed over $900,000, and now they're saying closer to $600,000. Really interesting that people are lowering their expectations a little bit for what they need. What do you make from that?
Well, so first of all, I would say that number is very subjective. And it's not, everybody has their own financial circumstances and what's going to make them tick. So I never based too much on a number when it used to be $1 million, or I think in 2020, wealthy was considered $2.5 million, whatever the case is. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that I would take pause with, if we base what it's going to cost, what we're going to spend in retirement on what last year was like, we didn't do much last year. So I don't know that that's a reality. Yeah. And I think
that's true. Yeah.
As much as we all have a sense of gratitude for the things that we took for granted and we feel like, geez, we're just happier to do less. But, as time fades and the masks go away and we're able to travel, will we go back to where we were? That's a good question.
We might go back up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and I think the biggest thing, Jen, is in your personal circumstances, what do you want your retirement to look like? And what's it really going to cost you? How much do you have to save? Do you have a pension? Do you have, what's your Social Security look like? When are you retiring? What's your health like? All of these things versus just a number of how much you save is, really going to come into play when you figure out that number. Are you risk adverse?
Right.
Are you going to take a lot of risk? So that's kind of really subjective. And if I had hair on my back, it would stand up because that's not really how we help people get ready for retirement. I mean, obviously, the more you save, the more choices you have, the better off you're going to be, especially if you have the right risk tolerance. So if you save a ton of money and all of a sudden it explodes in the next market downturn, well, maybe a lot of it's for naught if you're very aggressive. But all things being held equal, if you save more and it's and you have it when you retire, you'll have more choices, granted. But there's no one number. I meet very wealthy people who just really, they don't need that much in retirement to meet their goals. And I meet people who aren't as wealthy, who want to spend a lot. So it's all relative.
Yeah, and that's what I think is one of the interesting things. There are no wrong answers here. And what a great point for someone who maybe comes in at the higher end of the wealth spectrum. They've done a lot of that travel. That could have been something that they've already accomplished. So maybe they are just truly planning to scale back their lifestyle in retirement, whereas others who have been working hard, grinding hard this whole time, this is where they're finally hoping to start spending some money. So either way, we just need to know what your plans are to help you figure out how you're going to get there. And that's the big part of the conversation that you help people with, because none of this is going to happen by accident. We can't just be assuming that this is all going to work out.
Yeah, so we have to reverse engineer it. What do we want retirement to look like? What's it going to cost? How is inflation going to affect it? What are our fixed sources of income that are going to come in no matter what? What's our deficit? How much are we going to have to rely on our portfolios, what we saved in addition to maybe Social Security and pensions that we may or may not have, or maybe rental income? What are we going to rely on that portfolio to finance? And then from there, once we know what our budget is and it's inflation adjusted, we can begin to put the pieces together to say, yeah, that's going to work. You have enough, you saved enough money to spend, I don't know, 10 grand a month. Here it is on paper. It's laid out, and and your money is going to go all the way out to here. So a retirement plan, an income plan is extremely important, and it's got to answer 5 very important questions. First of all, you got to know your budget. What are we trying to create? Okay, so now I've got my budget. Where's the money going to come from? Where am I going to get this money from to begin with? Where am I going to start taking it from? When am I going to start taking Social Security? How am I going to get raises? Where are those raises coming from? Show me the bucket of money that's going to increase my income as inflation erodes what we're living on. Hey, by the way, if there's catastrophic illness, how are we going to pay for that? Or if there's a death, how are we going to do that? How are we going to be tax efficient? Or what order are we going to take our money from? Risk-wise and tax-wise. Are we going to take it from our tax-free account or our taxable account? Or are we going to take it from our risky account or our safe account? And bottom line, most important question, if you don't even know you want to know this, you do. Do I have enough money to retire, and how long is my money going to last? A real good income plan, let's throw out just the finite number, how much you need. But once we know what you want your retirement to look like, a real good income plan is going to tell you that. And if you have enough money to meet your lifestyle, that's all you need. That's all you need. And we want it to be mathematical proof. And I would really question whether you're going to spend less in retirement based upon what happened last year. And the other thing you better consider is taxes are going up.
I was just going to ask about that.
Taxes are going up, folks. And without having a tax-savvy plan, you could save hundreds to thousands of dollars if you do some forward-looking tax planning. Not just having your taxes prepared on April 15th and being savvy about how much you have to put away for taxes, but really understanding what your tax liability is going to be throughout your lifetime, and then being back into it, reverse engineer to how to reduce and eliminate those taxes. I think that's the biggest impact we bring to people. I think we do a lot of good things with our Retire Fit analysis and our Retire Fit planning process. I really do. I'm very passionate about it. One of the biggest keys that we see, a differentiator, and most people don't know their future tax liability, and they don't have a forward-looking tax strategy. And when we put that together, oftentimes we're able to save huge amounts of money with people that they can put towards their retirement and really enjoy things without even having to take more risk or even having to save more, just keeping more. So really, really, really important to have that plan, understand your money, what you want it to do, and then reverse engineer back into it to cover all the things you need to cover and be tax efficient and make sure, you've got the income coming in reliably, regardless of what's going on around you. And it all starts with really a Retire Fit analysis, our process that walks you through what you want retirement to look like, what that comes out to dollars and cents, and where you are in relationship to that. Lays it out, easy, simple, but you got to pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. There's no obligation to go through this. I don't know if I can help you. I want to, but I don't know if I can help you. And quite frankly, I don't know if you need our help. So it's always complimentary, except the time that you're going to put in to have a great conversation with us. Again, that number is 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. And I'm so glad that you are bringing a dose of reality here, Phillis, as we talk about these numbers, how people are changing how they view wealth. It very well could just be a temporary thing. We also need to recognize, since you've mentioned, last year we weren't going anywhere, we weren't doing anything, so we weren't spending as much money. We also had so much turmoil, so many storms with the markets and so much uncertainty. And we do need to recognize, even though the exact circumstances of last year might not happen again, there are going to be storms. And you bringing this dose of reality and this sense of calm. I mean, the name of your book is Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. This is really important for us to have somebody like you to talk to, because you better believe storms in the markets are going to happen again. Storms with taxes are going to happen again. We're going to have to live through some of this stuff again when it comes to finances.
Yeah. So when you build a plan in retirement, it's counterintuitive with what you've done in the first stage, which is just accumulate. You've got to plan for the worst and hope for the best. I'm not Debbie Downer, but I bring to the table all those things that can come along. And if you don't have a plan for them, just really unravel everything it took you a lifetime to accumulate. So that's what the plan does. Realistically, what's our budget? And if this comes along, how are we going to make sure that we navigate to and through that successfully? That's why I talk about a mind shift adjustment. And Jen, you're right. Throughout retirement, there will be storms. But if you're proactive, not reactive, and you have a plan, which is the whole premise of my book, Creating Calm Amidst the Storm, you will get to and through retirement independently in your own terms. And really, the first step is, what do we want retirement to look like? Where are you right now? Are there any gaps that you need to address? That's what our Retire Fit analysis will do. Totally no obligation, complimentary, and you need to call us at 623-792-5496 to make sure that you're on track. Or if you're not, you can identify where those gaps are so that we can work to fix those. Again, 623-792-5496.
And I just want to throw out there as well, for those of you, maybe you don't feel like you're at that point where you're ready to have that conversation with Phillis. There's a great resource available on our website. Go to pspoffers.com/list to take the checklist challenge. I just encourage you to start there, and it might help you see where some of those gaps are when it comes to your assets for retirement, some of the liabilities that you might have. What are some of the pieces that you might be missing? And then it might be time to pick up the phone. But start with the checklist challenge. It's free. pspoffers.com/list is where you find it. It's about 3 pages long. It's checking off the boxes. After you see what boxes you've been able to check off and where the gaps are, then you might want to call. But start with pspoffers.com/list. Take that checklist challenge and see where you are. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
When it comes to your health, it's clear. You consult your doctor. So why not consult a professional when it comes to money? Just like your doctor, the advice you get from a financial advisor can have a direct impact on your quality of life. Are you paying too much in fees with your current financial professional? What could happen to your nest egg if there's a market correction? If you're unsure, it may be time for a second opinion. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is an independent advisor. She doesn't have a boss on Wall Street. Phillis and her team at PSP & Associates specialize in designing retirement strategies that can allow you to spend more time enjoying life and less time being concerned about your finances. Get your second opinion. 623-792-5496. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus and PSP & Associates can help make sure your golden years are just that. Golden. 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is also a licensed insurance agent in the state of Arizona.
Thanks for joining us today on Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. I'm Jen Rezac alongside Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus to live a life of luxury without a care in the world. Phillis, you remember the theme from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous? Does this help you channel your inner Robin Leach? And I remember the tagline, the champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
That's right.
Remember that?
That's right.
But, as we have talked about before with what happened to the champagne industry during the shutdown, is it champagne wishes or champagne hand sanitizer that we're dealing with when they had to consider making hand sanitizer from their champagne grapes because the industry was just devastated by what happened with nobody buying champagne, nobody celebrating. What a strange world.
It's the Twilight Zone, Jen.
It is. I should have opened with the Twilight Zone theme instead of lifestyles of the rich and famous. But I brought it up because I've done this before. I don't know if you have, but if you do a Google search and you enter, athletes who squandered their money or actors who lost it all, there will be a lot of hits on that search. You will find a long list of celebrities, of actors and musicians and athletes who hit financial hard times. And, I think financial hard times is something a lot of people have experienced with everything that's happened in the year 2020. We get it. We know what that's like. But when you look at the amount of money that these people have gone through, how can so many people, Phyllis, go through so much money so quickly? How does that even happen?
They have no sense of what they have. They have no plan. If they do have a plan, it's just very vague financial advice. They give up control to somebody else, and it's easier than you think. And they think it's going to go on forever. They just live in the dream.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think there are assumptions that the money will continue to come in. And of course, some of these folks, they retire. You look at how young athletes and some of these people retire. And unless they find another job, unless they become a sports commentator or they end up doing something else, the income is just not going to be there anymore. I wonder if there are any other lessons from these folks, from these athletes. And we'll share some examples here throughout this segment and coming up a little later on of specific athletes and musicians and actors who ended up losing it all. But in general, what lessons can we learn from these folks? Because they were so successful on top of the world and then to end up being broke.
Have a plan. I mean, seriously, have a plan. Make sure that you have a financial plan. Understand, be in control of your situation. Don't just take willy-nilly advice without proof. And this is a lot of times these athletes, and we see it today with a lot of families, they love their family and they give too much to every friend and every family member who comes along, and everybody has their hands open, and it's okay to give. I'm very generous, but understand before you give the ramifications and what you can give, so it can be a gift that keeps on giving versus giving it away and then being in that situation. Be proactive, not reactive. And I can equate that to, today, a lot of parents having to help their kids as they're getting close to retirement. Well, if you just, of course you want to help your kids, but if you just give endlessly, number one, the kids don't have any sense of being able to stand on their own 2 feet.
Right. There's no lessons learned there for them.
No lessons. Number two, it could just wipe out your retirement without a plan first to understand where you draw the line. And I think athletes have been known to do that.
Right.
Just give it away.
Right. Well, and since you brought up athletes, Sports Illustrated, they did this study a few years ago, and I just think this number is shocking. This is from 2015, but I'm sure it's still pretty similar today. They said 80% of retired NFL players go broke in their first 3 years of retirement. So you think about what professional athletes make and to spend through it all within 3 years. But they said a couple of reasons are lack of competent financial planning advice and sharing too much of their wealth with family and friends. So kind of like what you're saying here, not having a plan for how to manage it. And then also, I think there's this sense of obligation for some of these professional athletes. They're probably the only one in their family who is that well off. So you do have all these people coming out of the woodwork and they feel obligated to help. And people are well-meaning, Phyllis. They want to be helpful, but it can come at a cost to your own financial success and your own future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see this with the everyday hardworking person as well.
Yeah.
If you've gotten, Fidelity and all these companies put out, you get to the magic number, now you're wealthy. You got $1 million.
Right.
Well, $1 million minus your tax or whatever the number is. Well, you got the money, and without a plan for how you're going to take that out in retirement, or how long it has to last, or how you're going to pay for healthcare costs, or how you're going to pay taxes, it's not just $1 million. It may not last forever. So if you don't have a good plan, and then all of a sudden you're helping this person and you're helping that person, before you know it, without a good organized way of doing that, you could find yourself bust.
Right.
You could find yourself bust, and it's really sad.
It is sad, and it's just unfortunate. And when we talk about the everyday retiree, I think it's something like the average inheritance lasts only 9 months or something crazy like that, because of the lack of planning. And it is easy to look at a big amount and think, well, this is gonna last me forever. But if you don't have a plan for how you will invest part of it and save part of it and spend a little part of it, you kind of have to break it down. If you don't have a plan to do that, you will go right through it. And that's what we need to do with our money. That's kind of the whole point of your Retire Fit analysis, right?
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. And at this stage, when you retire and you don't want to go back to work, or maybe you can't go back to work, whatever you've got, it's going to last you, so you don't get a do-over like those athletes who go bust, or those movie stars who go bust, who may be young and they can get a do-over. But in retirement, you really probably don't have any opportunities for do-overs. So you got to get it right on the front end.
Right.
Very, very essential.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, let me just give the phone number really quickly, because we just mentioned the Retire Fit analysis. 623-792-5496 is how you can get started with that today. That's 623-792-5496. Again, to help come up with a plan to make sure your income will last, that you're thinking about taxes, that you're thinking about your investment strategy, that you're thinking about healthcare and long-term care, and also legacy planning for the future. It's all part of that Retire Fit analysis. And to get started on that, 623-792-5496 is that number. Another example, Phyllis, of people who just have a hard time watching what they spend, and I know I am guilty of this at times also. I've done my fair share of being at home all the time and shopping on Amazon. But Burt Reynolds, the late Burt Reynolds, once told Vanity Fair, "I've lost more money than is possible because I just haven't watched it." He just spent it. He wasn't watching it. And I think I read he spent like $100,000 on toupees or something crazy. Something crazy like that. How do you help people come up with a budget and a spending plan for retirement so they can spend it confidently, they can enjoy what they're spending their money on, but within reason, so they don't have to worry about overspending?
So, yeah, that is such an important part of our whole planning, making it a realistic budget, considering everything. And oftentimes people come in and I'm going to spend a lot less. Well, then when we really start digging into what they want retirement to look like, how they're going to travel, what they're going to spend, what gifts look like for their grandkids, the things that are important to them, how much they're going to golf, all of that. We spend some time getting to know them, getting them to understand every day is Saturday, they're going to spend more. We can begin to come up with a realistic budget. And then we pad it a little bit. And then we look to see that if this is your budget, how much you're really going to keep after taxes and after inflation. And now with what you have, which reliable sources of income, because cash flow is king in retirement, and all of your assets, can you reach that? Can we show you mathematically that you're not going to outlive your money? And if it's not realistic and it's right in front of you after we've done all figuring out the best time to take Social Security, tax planning, and so forth and so on, well, then we readjust the budget. And if we do have enough, well, now we know we're going to live the retirement that we want to independently in our own terms without running out of money. If you're married, we have to consider what happens when the first spouse passes, if you don't get to go together, all things like that. So Retire Fit Analysis is a real deep dive into what you want retirement to look like. Let's paint that picture. Let's put the dollars to that. Let's make sure that we adjust it for inflation. Let's make sure that we add the taxes, and let's get a good working budget, and let's make sure the numbers add up so that it makes sense and we can lay it out in front of you. That's why you need to call us if you don't have a plan or you're not sure you have an income plan that you can pick up and look at. One that tells you when you're going to take your money from where, how long it's going to last. Pick up the phone now and call us for the Retire Fit Analysis. No obligation, no cost to it other than your time. 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496. It is a very intuitive process that will put you in charge so that you can be proactive, not reactive. And in these crazy times, if you want to just start with a phone call, a 15-minute phone call to talk about what it means to you, that's great. And then we can start going through our whole process from there. Our discovery process, our observation process, the whole gambit. 623-792-5496.
Talking today with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. I'm Jen Rezac alongside. That number one more time is 623-792-5496. Having some fun today talking about the lifestyles of the rich and famous, because there are celebrities who make mistakes with their money, and we can learn from some of those things because it impacts the everyday person just the same, just on a little bit more of a normal scale than what these celebrities have. Right, exactly. But when we come back from our break, if you're trying to prepare for retirement, there are some habits you can steal or maybe just borrow from the super wealthy. We're going to talk about the ones who've done it right. That's coming up next. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us today. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. I am Jen Rezac. Happy to be here with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates. RetireWithPSP.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. Today we're talking about the lifestyles of the rich and famous. And if you are trying to prepare for retirement, there are a few habits that you can borrow from the super wealthy. So, Phillis, let's talk about some of the good financial habits we should pick up. When you think about those celebrities, the actors, the musicians, whomever, the ones who've done it right, what are they doing right when it comes to managing their wealth?
How about live within or below your means? Understand, understand your money. How about not have exorbitant debt, paying off that debt, and actually owning these things? And don't just save your money, but invest your money. Okay. Understand it and invest your money. Those, to me, are for some anybody who has been ultra wealthy and successful really has those three skills.
All right. And I do have some examples of people who have followed those tips. Warren Buffett, of course, we all know Warren Buffett, one of the most successful, well-known investors of our time. He has this analogy talking about, when you talk about don't just save, invest, he talked about compounding and said it's kind of like being at the top of a big hill and pushing a snowball down it. And you can picture those cartoons where they start at the top with this little bitty snowball, and then it's this massive thing by the time it gets to the bottom. So with that visual in mind, talk about the impact compounding can have on our retirement savings.
Oh, that's absolutely huge. A 30-year-old can save half of what I think it's half of what like a 45-year-old can save, and just the power of compounding end up with more money. I mean, the more time you have, even if you're putting in less, if you're putting it in religiously, the power of compounding, just leaving it there, is huge. And when we talk about Warren Buffett, I think going back to those characteristics of financial habits, Warren Buffett didn't believe in debt. And he certainly didn't live above his means. Yeah. And so couple that with not just saving, but investing and compounding and leaving it and growing it, yeah, those are some really successful habits.
Now,
and
I know
compounding's huge.
I know Warren Buffett, when we talk about someone who is in the investment world, and obviously you hear about some of the massive losses someone even like a Warren Buffett sustained when we've had some financial rocky times. So obviously we're all going to be investing on a little bit of a different scale than a Warren Buffett. But what are some lessons when it comes to investments that we should take from him, or maybe just what should be going on with our investment strategy as we get closer to retirement? I don't know if maybe, we need to follow his investment philosophy as we get into retirement or what that needs to be.
Well, let me say this. Warren Buffett has 2 rules that I think everybody should think about. Number 1, don't lose money. Number 2, never forget the first rule.
That's right.
And boy, that really resonates when it comes to retirement, because the thing is, don't take on more risk than you can afford. Mm-hmm. Absolutely don't do that, because you don't have time to regain it. You don't have the power of compounding, and you may need that money right here and now. So yes, everybody needs risk and, stock investments in a well-balanced plan, the right time frame, that's appropriate, but don't lose what you can't afford to lose. That comes straight from Mr. Warren Buffett himself, and I've always loved that. That's a big takeaway from him.
So let's talk a little bit about how we make sure that we are following Warren Buffett's rules about not losing money. How do we make sure that we have the right investment strategy aligned for where we are in life? Because what's going on with a 35-year-old is different from a 45-year-old or a 65-year-old. How do we make sure that we've got everything the right way for where we are in life?
So you have to have, first understand what you need your money to do at that point in time. So a 35-year-old has lots of years. The money that they're putting away for retirement, they've got time on their side. It's grow. Just put it in, save systematically. You can take risk. You have the power of compounding working for you. The money that you need for your emergency fund for a 35-year-old, you've got to have one, because there's going to be emergencies with young families, right? It's got to be safe. It's got to be secure. And there's rules of thumb that typically you want 6 months of your expenses in an emergency account. I mean, like anybody else, what do you need your money to do when, and have the risk tolerance be that. But for retirement, everything that you've done up to that point, the saving for retirement, it all really has to change, because the paycheck goes away. Mm-hmm. So in retirement, your goals, there's less time to consider those. You have less time on your side to have most of your money growing, and you have to consider, number 1, cash flow is king in retirement. Without steady cash flow that's tax efficient and inflation adjusted, there's really not much of a retirement to talk about. So you've got to make sure that you have an income plan that's going to last as long as you last. So lifetime reliable streams of income, right? Decisions on Social Security, when to take it. Not just maximizing, getting the most every month, but making sure that it's optimized, that it makes sense. You could you could wait till age 70 in some instances, but run out of your money before then, waiting for it, because you spent down all of your assets. Sure, you'll get a higher paycheck at 70 than you would have if you took it at 66, but does that make sense? So a logical decision on that, a logical decision about how to have lifetime income and when you're going to need that money. Really, really important to plan accordingly like that. For our retirees, I like to really have it on, or people retiring, I want to have an understanding on the front end of what it's going to cost to retire. Let's get those dollars and cents, inflation adjusted, and let's build first and foremost a reliable income strategy that's going to last as long as you do. Let's take care of that. And let's understand the taxes involved and when we're going to need the money, so we know how much risk to take. Everything you've done to get to retirement. Get to the point that you're thinking about retirement. All of those rules, they kind of go out the window when you retire. You have to be concerned with replacing the paycheck first and foremost. And that means accounting for raises in retirement, which is inflation adjusted. And that means understanding your tax liability. All the years while you're working, people are told this is conventional wisdom, and everybody should rethink this. While you're working, you're going to be in a higher tax bracket than you will be when you're retired. So put everything away pre-tax. Take the write-off right now on your IRA. Get it off your taxes. Pay less in taxes now. Let that money grow and pay your taxes in retirement. That's not necessarily a good idea, because in retirement, people find that they have a huge tax liability. And one thing that it gets me up at night, Jen, honestly, with our spending so much, our debt so high in this country, taxes have to go up. So people in retirement more than ever need a strategic tax strategy that you wouldn't have considered in before retirement. And you need to understand your liability, what it's going to be like, and have a strategy that allows you to keep more of your hard-earned money. Taxes are going to go up in the future. I don't care what you think. There's no way that I can reconcile that they won't. And if you don't have a tax strategy, Uncle Sam's going to get a lot of your hard-earned money that you need to plan for. So, putting all those pieces together, having a proactive plan like Warren, understanding your budget, understanding when you're going to need the money when. I mean, yes, with the pandemic, he's had lots of losses, but he's had more wins. And that's money that he probably already accounted for in his planning. Same thing. So you want to retire fit analysis is the long and short of this. You want to understand what you need your money to do in retirement. Be proactive, not reactive. Our retire fit analysis process will take you through the entire process so that you see things loud and clear. You know what you want your money to do, when, and what it's actually doing. And if there's any things that you need to address, proactively, we could show you how to do that. And it all starts with picking up the phone and calling us at 623-792-5496. Again, 623-792-5496.
This is Retire Financially Fit with Phillis, as we talk about the lifestyles of the rich and famous, some of the lessons we can learn from those who have done it right. Jay Leno, another example of someone who's lived well below his means. Phillis, you said that was one of the lessons that we would want to take here. Live below your means. Jay Leno says he never actually spent the money he made from The Tonight Show the whole time it aired. That went straight to his savings. Wow. He spent the money he made from his comedy shows, which is pretty cool that he was able to do that. So let's talk about how we can take that type of approach of living beneath our means for our retirement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, living beneath his means, he probably made a lot more than the average person, right?
Yeah.
So living beneath his means still maintained a great lifestyle. So I don't know that people who have sacrificed all throughout their working years and have done a great job saving should have to live below their means and not do things. I just think that the numbers have to balance out. And when you go through our process and you understand how long your money is going to last, what it's really going to do for you after considering inflation, after considering taxes, after considering market corrections, after considering what could happen with a healthcare crisis, you can see the realistic dollars that you have left over. And if you live within that means, you don't necessarily have to live under it. Now, when you're working, it makes sense to save more and live below your means. If you spend every penny, you have nothing for retirement years. And what are you going to do then? But in retirement, I want you to enjoy. So let's get the facts right. Let's lay it all out. Let's understand what that number is that you'll have for lifetime income, cash flow that you can't outlive, where it's going to come from, when, and where it should be invested to provide that. 623-792-5496 is the number to get the ball rolling on the Retire Fit analysis that will make you proactive instead of reactive.
That number one more time, 623-792-5496. This is Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. We'll be right back after this.
When it comes to your health, it's clear. You consult your doctor. So why not consult a professional when it comes to money? Just like your doctor, the advice you get from a financial advisor can have a direct impact on your quality of life. Are you paying too much in fees with your current financial professional? What could happen to your nest egg if there's a market correction? If you're unsure, it may be time for a second opinion. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is an independent advisor. She doesn't have a boss on Wall Street. Phillis and her team at PSP & Associates specialize in designing retirement strategies that can allow you to spend more time enjoying life and less time being concerned about your finances. Get your second opinion. 623-792-5496. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus and PSP & Associates can help make sure your golden years are just that. Golden. 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus is also a licensed insurance agent in the state of Arizona.
Is your retirement plan ready for the long haul? Get a second opinion today from Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. Just call 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're going to build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. 1985, Phyllis, the year we went back to the future for the first time. 35 years later, we're going back to 1985 in our Retire Financially Fit time machine. Kind of hard to believe, Phyllis. It's been 35 years since Back to the Future came out, of course, directed by Robert Zemeckis and had Michael J. Fox in the starring role. And he recently turned 59. So Marty McFly is almost ready to start taking money from his retirement accounts. Phyllis,
Wow.
can you even
wow,
believe it?
I feel old. Oh, my goodness gracious. I feel old now, Jen.
Sorry
Thanks,
to do it.
Thanks,
Sorry
thanks.
to do it.
My
to
kids
you.
weren't even born.
Yeah, I know. Long time ago, a lot has happened. Other things in 1985, Phyllis, it was the first Live Aid concert. Calvin and Hobbes, that's when it first debuted in newspapers. Wow. Michael Jordan was Rookie of the Year in the NBA in 1985. And here's something that we first heard for the first time, Phyllis. I don't know if you were much of a gamer, but... You didn't play Super Mario Brothers very much, did you?
I didn't, but my husband loved it, and he showed my son when he was young enough. Yeah, I'll just say this: I remember my husband used to watch it. Play it,
right.
And my son used to go, "Push B, push B." He wouldn't push the button, but he used to go, "Push B." I can just remember his high pitched squeal.
Oh,
it's the cutest little thing.
I love it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I played them. I played Mario Brothers, and to this day, actually, not too long ago, my kids have whatever the latest version is, but they were playing Super Mario Brothers, and there was one world that they got stuck on, and they couldn't figure out how to beat it. And I said, well, I'll beat it for you. And they're like, Mom, you know how to play Mario Brothers? And I said, move aside, kids. Move aside.
Oh, how funny.
I'll take care of Bowser for you. That's exactly
No, that
right.
wouldn't be me. That wouldn't be me. Maybe Grandpa could still do it.
There you go.
I know my son could.
Oh, man. Well,
Daughter too, probably.
Yeah, I bet they both could. Well, yeah, lot has changed since 1985, and I have some financial figures to talk about as well. And these, I think, are pretty eye-opening, pretty crazy to think about as well. 1985, Phyllis, the Dow ended the year at 1546.
Wow.
Right? Crazy. Because, we were right before all the craziness happened with the pandemic, we were pushing 30,000, right? And then now, 1546 is where the Dow was in 1985. Cost $2.75 to go to the movies. A stamp cost 22 cents, and the average cost of a new house was $89,000. But the interest rate on mortgages was hovering around 11.6%. Think about that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
11.6.
What
Yeah.
would we do if we saw interest rates like that today? I mean, what kind of conversation would you be having with your clients if that was where interest rates were today?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, the only good thing for retirees is they'd probably be making more on CDs in the
Sure.
bank. We'd be doing a ton of those.
Right.
But yeah, wanting to pay off their mortgages would be a huge deal. I
Yeah.
mean, it just would be a whole different conversation. But we do kind of talk about that everything is cyclical.
Yeah.
I don't know
Okay.
that we'll ever see interest rates quite as high as when in 1981, 83, when I was building my first house. We built it because that was my husband's line.
Mm-hmm.
I remember them telling me that a construction loan was going to be 14.5%.
Oh my gosh.
And I
Wow.
said, I think we'll build part of it and then we'll build another part later. I was always practical.
Just do it in
I just
pieces.
couldn't see that.
Yeah.
I couldn't. But yeah, kids don't realize how good these interest rates are.
Yeah.
Be a total different conversation all the way around.
Right.
But I like to believe that as we do our retire fit process, what I always say is, the thing is, what you've got is finite. You're not going to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
You want to live your life independently on your own terms. So the way to do that is to take all your years of hard work, put in some work on the front end, plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Right.
Because could interest rates go historically high? Yes, they could. Could the market go up? Could it go down? Yes. Could there be a healthcare crisis? Yes. Big one. Big one, big one,
Mm-hmm.
big one. Will
Yeah.
taxes go up? Absolutely. This is the one I want to scream from the rooftop right now. I talk about risk. I talk about everything else, but I've got to tell you, taxes are on sale today, people. Taxes will go up. Definitely. When you wake up January 1, 2026, taxes will be back to where they were in 2017, which is a lot higher than they are now. And because of all of the money that's been printed lately, all of the stimulus, they're going to be higher than that. Wow. Huge, huge, huge thing that today proactively we help people plan for.
Yeah.
And plan for the worst.
Yeah, and we think about also, Phyllis, I'm looking at these numbers from 1985, and I'm thinking how frustrating for people who were maybe building or buying their first home back in the 80s when they had those interest rates, what they were back then, and now they're getting ready for retirement, and interest rates are where they are now, where they're not really able to live off the interest like what they used to be told. Gosh, what a frustrating way to bookend your career, right? Oh.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Now I'm depressed. Not
sorry.
only do I feel old, but now no. That's why you've got to plan for the worst and hope for the best. And there is no one size fits all investment vehicle. That's why you need some in the market long term. You need different types of asset diversification, tax diversification. Again, understand everything that could face you and insulate and plan for the worst and hope for the best. And that is exactly the essence of what we do. Where do you want to be in retirement? Where are you in relationship to that? What are the things that you have not considered, that you didn't know that could come along and rid you of your hard-earned money? That's our whole process. Once you understand those things, now what are the different ways that we can insulate you, better prepare you, and make sure that you get to live independently and on your own terms? And if you're not in a position to live exactly as you want to, when would you want to know? Beforehand or later when it's too late? Probably beforehand.
Yeah.
So great reason when we look back to that time. Wow. Interest rates, all the things that we can think about, the prices of houses, everything. Wow, to go to the movies, $2.75, you can't even get a small popcorn for that.
No, you can't go to the Dollar Theater for that. They charge more than $1 at the Dollar Theater. Oh my gosh.
So great reason to pick up the phone and call us, and let's proactively build your plan so that you get to live your life independently and in your own terms, no matter what comes your way, because things will. And the number to get started, 623-792-5496. And remember, this is a process that is totally complimentary. Other than your time, you will need to put some time in and be prepared for it. But there's no obligation either, because you know what? Maybe you're already in a good situation, or maybe you're not, but I'm not the one you want to hear it from. Whatever it is, I can guarantee you this: as we go through the process, we'll give you more information than you had going in. 623-792-5496.
This is Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac alongside. The other thing to think about, Phyllis, as we are in our Retire Financially Fit time machine, looking back to the 1980s, when I was in elementary school, so this would have been the late 80s.
Rub it in.
Sorry. I know. Sorry. The principal at my elementary school retired. So he retired in probably, it was like 1987, 1988, something like that. And he just passed away a couple of years ago. And so to me, that was just shocking when I heard that, because first of all, when he retired, he wasn't near as old as I thought he was when I was in elementary school. But also just think about how different the world is today versus in the late 80s. What lessons can we take looking into the future, going back to the future here, Phyllis, and thinking about what could all of this potentially look like for us 20, 30, 40 years from now? That's a big thing to get your arms around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so let's just think about this. Like I said before, taxes, we're in one of the lowest tax rate environments that we've ever been in, and yet we have more debt than, I mean, if you go back to what our deficit was like then and what our debt was like then, oh my gosh, we'll all be depressed. So we're not going to do that, but it's so much higher. So we have future tax consequences, people living so much that means he probably retired in his 50s. And how old was he when he died?
He was in his 80s, I know for sure. So he would have been in his 50s.
And he lived a long life for those days, right? People are living much, much longer. You got to prepare for that. Again, with interest rates so low, when they go up, there's good news for the savers, but the other side is there's inflation that you got to prepare for, because inflation goes alongside of that. So there's an entirely different paradigm. Let's talk about healthcare. I mean, even with low inflation right now, the costs for healthcare are going up exponentially.
Yep.
Exponentially. You've got to prepare for that. You know, Fidelity comes out with a study every couple of years, and they say, I think the last time I read it was last year. I'm close. Okay. I'm going to paraphrase. A couple age 65, if they plan to live a 20-year retirement, they need $280,000 put aside for just the normal healthcare expenses, co-pays, prescription drugs, costs of the Medicare supplement. We're not even talking about the big one, the need for custodial care. Right now, today, the average cost of custodial care around the country, if you go into a nursing home, is $78,000, I believe.
Wow.
And assisted living around the country, about $36,000. Home health care, $18.50 an hour. And those costs are going up by 4.5% inflation right now, compounded.
Wow. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And that is why that is why it's important to get started with planning so you can be ready for all of these things down the road. That number to call Phyllis Saxpil-Venus at PSP and Associates, 623-792-5496 to get started on your Retire Fit analysis. That's 623-792-5496. This has been Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. And as we close out the show today, we have one last flashback to 1985. That was when Columbia Records released We Are the World to help raise money for famine relief in Africa, part of that Live Aid concert. So, Phyllis? Thanks for joining us today. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. PSP Financial Services is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. PSP Financial Services, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency. This radio show is a paid placement.